The following video has been written and created without the use of AI. Please support your human content creators by liking the video and commenting something down below. Every comment you write, I will see. I personally check the comments every hour. Thank you.
Pit, pat, pit, pat, little naked feet across concrete floor, slowly, step by step. Your feet carried you forward towards an unknown destination. You were looking for food, looking for shelter, looking for things. That much was clear. The eyes of the painter staring at you as you walked. You weren't really meant to escape. A small error in the Black Side's organization, shortly before everything went downhill. The reason was silly too. Your document was incomplete due to lack of observational data and knowledge about what you were. Aside from appearance and some hunting behaviors, you were a complete unknown. You were humanoid, that much was clear. You were humanoid. Skin that appeared black but was actually translucent, merely covered in a black loop-like substance that was constantly produced through pores on your skin, making you look like an ink-covered shadow. You had long bamboo leaves that reached down to your hip, their stems seemingly attached to your very skull, effectively making them your hair. Your face lacked most identifiers and musculature like those of humans, putting you in a permanent smile. You had no nose. Your eyes, two glowing white orbs never fully closed when blinking, and a lipless white mouth with teeth that could retract, thin and sharp like nails, giving you a rather uncanny appearance. You weren't violent, but you definitely were aggressive. And the fact that the guards did try to inappropriately touch you only made things worse. Not for you per se, but definitely for them. You are given the designation Z-6906, aka Swamp Hag. You have been found in the Louisiana bayou, hunting mostly fish and livestock. Your diet persisting out of 90% meat from specifically herbivores. The other 10% were human, who interrupted your hunts. The only real hunting behavior observed from you was to blame. Your eyes would darken to the point where they seemed like fireflies in the dark of the bayou as you approached your prey, and if interrupted, your focus would shift to the interruption. About 4 farmers, 17 drifters, and a handful of miscellaneous civilians had fallen to you as they just happened to be there at the wrong time. Despite your thin, bordering on malnourished appearance, everything beneath your skin was pure muscle, not an ounce of fat. Your organs were small, just so there was more room for musculature. You stopped in front of a closed door, and the painter's camera zoomed in as you reeled back your head and slammed it against the door, remaining in that position. How boring, thought the AI, and then turned his attention to his search for Sebastian Solless. Though just as his attention was diverted, your stomach rumbled and the light in your eyes began to fade. Lyall Cfield was one of the many sent into the Black Side to scavenge any leftovers. As a former death row inmate, he had nothing to lose but his life, and really, the offer was simple. Work for us, live longer, and more comfortable. He wasn't a brave man, but he also wasn't a stupid man, and so he signed. Though never in his life did he expect to be thrown into a maze of machines, tunnels, and monstrosities, though he was considering the possibilities of long-term survival down here, just so he could escape his captors. He would be the first one to enter the room where you were currently residing in. His flashlight fell upon your slender figure, your admittedly beautiful curves kissed by the shadows of the sparse light. He gulped. He could instantly tell you weren't human, and yet he didn't mind that. You could hear his approaching footsteps, see the light cone become smaller as he came closer. He made noises. You couldn't quite pinpoint them. You could tell emotions from it, curiosity and fear. He was speaking. He stretched out his hand, and the moment the tips of his fingers made contact with your body, you moved. In an explosion of violence. Your head snapped up, eyes like swamp fire burning into his skull. Your claws shot forward, hooked tips raking across his chest, tearing cloth and skin alike. He stumbled back, breath caught in a ragged cry, but you were on him before the sound fully left his lungs. Your knee rammed into his stomach, folding him like wet paper. The impact forced a choked grunt from his throat, spit fleckling your face. You didn't slow. Your teeth found his shoulder, crunching down through cloth, through skin, tasting salt and iron and something desperate beneath it all. He screamed, a wet strangled thing, and you bit deeper, shaking your head like an animal roaring fresh kill. Warmth ran over your tongue, thick and alive. His fist slammed against your side, uselessly, frantic blows that barely made your muscles twitch. You tore free, blood dripping from your teeth, and drove your elbow into his face. Bone cracked, blood splattered your cheek, hot and vivid. He fell, but you didn't let him drop fully. Your claws tangled in his hair, yanking him back into the storm. You slammed your forehead into his nose, once, twice, 3 times, each blow sending dull shockwaves through your skull, each crack met with a wet crunch and more blood. Your heart pounded, drumming in your ears, drowning out everything but the smell and taste of him. He wheezed, half collapsed, but your hunger burned too bright to stop. Your claws dug into his side, raking down, peeling cloth and skin. The scent of meat filled the room. He shrieked, voice cracking into ragged sobs, and tried to scramble away. And you followed, crawling over him, knees and elbows bruising flesh as you went. Your teeth snapped at his ear, catching the tip and tearing it loose. It fell from your lips to the concrete, pale and bloody. Your claws found his back. Raking down hard enough to leave deep grooves. Your own breath came ragged, hot, your ribs flaring with each hungry gasp. Your knee pinned his hip, your hand twisted in the ragged mess of his shirt, and you wrenched him back to your face. His eyes, wide and glassy, reflected nothing but terror. For a heartbeat you saw yourself in there. It only fueled you. You struck again, fist colliding with his jaw, feeling bone shift under skin, another punch, this time to his throat, cutting off the scream that threatened to rise. He gagged, coughed, spit. You bit at his cheek, tearing skin, tasting raw flesh. Your claws gripped his shoulder, sinking deep, finding bone. He kicked wildly, heel glancing off your ribs. Pain flickered through you, brief but sharp. Your grip yet tightened. Your jaws parted, breath hot and damp, and you bit again, lower, catching muscle. The salt and copper taste bloomed across your tongue, but desperation lends strength even to your prey. With a strangled roar, he shoved you back enough to slip from your claws. You lunged, and he scrambled, rolling to his side, boots scrabbling for purchase on blood-slick concrete. Your claws scraped the floor, missing by mere inches. He crawled half-blind with pain and terror, hands leaving smears of red behind. You hissed, low and dragged, the fire in your chest burning to finish the hunt. But he was already at the doorway, staggering upright, body swaying, his breath rattled. And he didn't stop. Feet pounding on concrete, each step fueled by panic. You surged forward, claws raised, and he fled into the dark, leaving the copper tang of blood and the echo of his ragged breathing fading down the corridor. Your heart thundered, claws twitching, teeth bared to the empty doorway. And in silence, you dropped to all fours without thought, breath ripping from your chest in hot feral bursts. The sand of his fear smeared the air, sweat, copper and raw panic, a trail burning bright your senses. You bolted forward, nails clicking and scraping, clawing at the concrete as your body coiled and uncoiled in quick lurching motions. Metal shelves blurred past, shadows twisting around your shoulders like old moss. Your limbs tucked close, then shot out, catching the edges of crates and piping to fling yourself forward faster, lower, more animal than flesh. You hurled a fallen cabinet, your hair of long leaves snapping behind you like a ragged banner. You didn't breathe, didn't blink. Your pulse thrummed wild in your ears while you tuned to the heat of prey just ahead. He stumbled through a half-open gate, shoulders slamming the frame, and you skidded sideways, claws biting concrete to turn sharp as a whip. A hiss scraped out from your chest, low and wet. The corridor turned narrow, walls caged you in, but you only dug your claws deeper, kicked off a jut of broken pipe to vault over scattered rubble. Your ribs grazed rusted metal, skin splitting in a very thin line that you barely felt. He glanced back, wild-eyed, caught sight of the shape you made in the flickering light. Limbs bent wrong, eyes alight with swarm fire, mouth wet with blood, and his steps faltered. Your legs churned faster, 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 shoulders rolling as you threw your weight side to side to keep speed through the wreckage. A tangle of wires hung low. You ducked beneath them, a breath wiped from catching your scalp. Feet drumming the ground like a drum of bone. He swerved into a side hall, boots slipping in pooled water. You crashed after, nails scraping sparks of concrete. A toppled filing cabinet blocked half the passage. You planted a hand on cold steel, muscles bunching and vaulted leaves trailing in your wake. The air reeked of oil and blood that you barely registered. Only his scent, that bright streak of living prey, mattered. He pounded towards a room that at the end of the hall stood, and you dropped low, arms spread, claws splayed to grip the slick floor. You skittered, caught yourself, then launched forward again, breath tearing free as a ragged growl. He reached the threshold. You slammed your foot against the ground, body twisting to catch the momentum, and leapt. For a heartbeat, you soared. Hair whipping, teeth bared, shadows swallowing your shape. You crashed into his back, the force ripping a grunt from him, your claws hooked into his clothes, or what was left of them. Your knee dove into the back of his leg, and together you smashed through the doorway into the dark. Your mouth opened, ready to tear, ready to kill. Your claws tightened, ripping, tearing. You tumbled through the air. As you dove him into the cold concrete floor of the room, breath mixing, bodies tangling, as you suddenly were lifted into the air by two large claws. And this is where we end this, okay? You didn't understand the words, but you could hear the sneer in the voice. Thanks, one sec. As his grip tightened, you realized that your hunt was over, and you became docile again. Ah, okay. We should add that touching her is a no-no, huh? The monstrosity reached for his tail with a third hand, taking out what looked like a first aid kit from a pocket attached to it. Here, it's on the house. He chuckled, throwing it at the bloody mess below. A weak thanks was all Caulfield could muster at this point. as Sebastian Solless left the room with you in his hands.
"You're quite the elusive one."
He chuckled to himself. "Always on the move, aren't you? See, they pay me for your capture. They're interested in you due to the lack of data they have so far. I guess they're concerned about the fact that they haven't found more of you." You blankly stared at him. Right, you don't understand speech, I get it. He put you down on a surgical table. Sebastian was a large sea serpent creature, 3 arms and a glowing bob on his head that bounced with excitement as he studied you. He wasn't afraid of you in the slightest. Sure, you were dangerous to humans, but, well, considering how you instantly became docile once he grabbed you, you knew when you were outmatched. How cute! He liked that, and it was flattering. You were blankly staring forward while he made a few calls. Every time he glanced at you, he couldn't help but smile. The low of his 3 hands found your head, rubbing over the crunchy leaves, but retreating it once the slime covered his hands. Your slime covered his hands. He inspected it, played with it between his fingers. It felt like lube. Sebastian gave you the side-eye, while you just sat there, dormant. And he had a thought, realizing something perhaps, making sure to put that into the haphazardly written document he put together on you. When you're satiated or abandoned a hunt, you practically became a living doll. A frightening, uncanny one, sure, but he pushed you down, watching as you just lied there, your eyes staring up at the ceiling. You did walk earlier, perhaps not? He grabbed your wrist with 2 fingers, raised your arm. It remained like that, even after letting go. He reached for his tail again, pulling out your unfinished document, that very obviously ended with the words, "More observation required." Yes, you were quite active, walking circles in your temporary transportation cell. What was this? And then he blinked with realization. Tonic immobility, he whispered, and then smirked, his face coming closer to yours. The gills at the sides of your neck were the only thing moving as you used them to breathe. The slime covering you, keeping them wet enough to not suffocate. A behavior some animals exhibit. He was speaking, purring, more to himself than you, knowing fully well you weren't capable of understanding words. Described as playing dead. The event of temporary rigidity or paralysis, a form of defense against predators, but also... His teeth flashed as he placed a large clawed hand on your chest, ignoring the slightly gross feeling of the lubricant your body produced. Feeling your fast heartbeat, he smiled. Can be triggered by mating interactions in certain species, such as rodents, pigs, some snakes, some birds, some insects. The tips of his claws pressed into your chest mounts. Aren't you a kinky one? He purred. Sebastian pressed down, feeling your chest rise and fall beneath the weight of his palm, his grin widening even more. Got nothing to say, huh? He teased, voice low, warm with amusement. Your eyes didn't move, your breathing quickened, shallow but steady, the only sign that you felt his presence at all. He traced the edge of your ribs with the blunt side of a claw. Slow, deliberate, making a show of it, just to see if your gaze would flicker ever so slightly, but it didn't. Well, aren't you perfect? He murmured, half to himself. He moved closer, his bulk casting your frozen form in shadow. The bulb atop his head swayed lazily as he leaned in, breath brushing your cheek. Pretty little thing, he rasped, tongue tasting the salt of your skin where the slime clung the thickest. You lay still, your chest trembling faintly under the weight of his teasing. He chuckled, the sound vibrating through you. You really have become a doll. And what kind of man would I be if I weren't to take advantage of that? Claw tip drawing an invisible path down your collarbone, following the dip to your sternum. His hand paused there, palm hot and heavy, claws curling lightly against your skin, then lower. Your body twitched instinctively, muscles betraying the illusion of lifelessness, and his grin sharpened. Ah, there you are. He kept exploring, fingertips trading lines through the slick coating of your skin, letting the slime catch on each ridge of his scales. Don't worry, he drawled, voice rich of heat, mock, and curiosity. I think I'll be gentle tonight. Well, at first at least. One of his hands pinned your wrist to the table, though you offered no resistance. Another traced circles low on your belly, claws grazing sensitive places with careful practiced cruelty. He tilted his head, bulb swinging, gills flaring as his own breathing grew heavier. And still you didn't flinch, didn't fight, didn't even blink. A living sculpture, warm, pliant. It thrilled him. The restraint cracked at the edges, his hand clutched your hip, claws dimpling the tender flesh beneath the leaves that made up your head. Beautiful. He whispered mockingly against your ear, hot breath making the gills at your neck flutter. His teeth scraped your shoulder hard enough to leave an imprint but stopping short of drawing blood. You don't even squirm. He taunted, voice roughened by warmth. His tail curled around the table, steadying himself as his free hand roamed, exploring every of your curves, every seam where your human shape blurred into something stranger. Fingers pressed, tested, and claimed in small, hungry motions. You felt his weight shift over you, the coil of muscle and scale pressing your hips into the cold metal. You didn't do so much as tremble. Just like that, he hissed, claws tracing the soft slope of your chest before dipping down, stopping just shy of your navel. And then went lower and lower, skin meeting the secrets that were best left unsaid. He hovered there, savoring the moment, twitching it a little. The tension, the heat, the knowledge that you couldn't stop him. That made him happy. Aren't you a perfect specimen? Just made for this, huh? And then his mouth crashed to yours. It was more biting than kissing, tasting slime and salt and something sharp beneath. His hands roamed greedily, exploring every warm, yielding part, testing what parts of you tensed and what stayed slack. You gave no sound, and you didn't fight. You were a living canvas for him to paint. The bulb on his head burned brighter, pulsing with every ragged breath. When it nearly became too much, he pulled back, panting, claws sinking into your hips to steady himself. His eyes devoured you, wild and hungry, and then, with a low growl, he pressed closer, his breath ghosting over your throat, claws tightening at your hips until you felt the bite of his scaled fingertips. You didn't move. You couldn't move. You wouldn't move. The bulb atop his head cast pale circles that danced across your stall body, catching in the glossy sheen of slime coating your chest, your belly, your thighs. Look at you, he rasped, voice cracked with lust. just lying there, letting me do whatever I please. Why is this turning me on so much? And he became feral. One clawed hand traced the hollow at your hip, testing the edge of muscle hidden under papery leaves. The other pressed flat against your sternum, pinning you harder to the table as if he half expected you to bolt. Not even a twitch. He whispered to himself, repeating it over and over, before leaning down, his teeth grazing your collarbone, his tongue flicked out, tasting the salt, the wild green tang off you. His hand slid lower over your belly, pausing at the places where skin gave way to something not quite human. A living puzzle for him to solve with greedy, curious hands. And then, suddenly, his head raised. His grin became toothy, hovering inches away from you. Grabbing your legs, he parted them. He had become impatient. Let's see how good you can stretch. He purred, before finally entering.
Hey, you reached the end of the video! That makes you part of an exclusive club. Our secret club password for this month is Rusty Spoons. Put the secret message in your comment below to tell fellow members that you watched the video until the very end. Lastly, before we say goodbye, I want to take the opportunity and thank my channel members. And if you want me to say something silly here, just have a funny account name and join my darling Steward tier. We have Meow Meow Person, Puppet Noah, ADHD Neptune, Mimi Mumu, Adrijama, Jaws, Melofia, Maxicat, Allison Watkins, Mystic Jade 111, Giovanna Moretti, Twilight Mia, Angry Boxman, and Anonymous Weep. Thank you for being dying stewards, and of course, a big thank you to all the other channel members. I cannot do this without you. Bye!